Hey everybody, John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for February 25th. I hope you're doing well. You know, I'm thinking more and more about spring, so you're going to be hearing me talking about things that I look at as we transition into spring. Just like a transition of fall into winter, it's a transition into spring. Now, meteorological spring starts March 1st, but seasonal spring, who knows when that will start. That could be quicker, that could be later, and I'll be talking about some signs I see right now on that transition. Now, first off, in today's briefing, let's take a look at rain and snow last week. California was really hit once again, and that's been one of our winter stories here, especially in 2024. The Florida Peninsula also got quite a bit of rain, a couple inches of rain, and some areas in the Ohio River Valley as well. But large parts of the nation, the central part of the U.S., was pretty quiet, not much at all. Now, as far as snow goes, I think the story, like I've been telling, is sort of the lack of snow. I see some snow over higher elevations of the west. I see some snow. This is recent snow right in here. But take a look at this area where we normally see snow, and I'm going to try to get an update out on that this week. But look, nothing at all on the ground. And you're going to see in this briefing, with the temperatures I'm talking about, anything that falls is more likely to fall as rain as snow. And we're going to get some snow this week, but with the temperatures, that's going to probably melt pretty quickly. So as far as spring snowmelt flooding, well, it's not looking like much of a chance this season. But that can change. It is spring. Probably not so much with the snow side of it, but with the rain side, that can change pretty quickly. Now let's talk about temperatures last week. Another thing that we've seen so far most of the winter has been this really unusually mild area here. And this is areas that are usually very cold. The Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, 10 to 15 degrees, milder than normal last week. And if we look at some of the high temperatures, these are the warmest temperatures last week. Well, first of all, we can see in Texas, I see a little bit of purple there, a little bit hard to see. That hit 90 degrees. Most of Texas hit in the 80s. Now take a look up here. This blue here, that's 45 to 50 degrees, and the normal high in this region is only in the 30s. The green here made it into the 60s. So unusually mild weather last week in many areas of the country. Now, one of the signs of spring that I look for is the transport of moisture northward. We're beginning to see a little bit here, really not too much signs, but I think as we get towards the middle of this week, I think we're going to see that telltale sign of some dew points coming up into the middle part of the nation, into the Midwest, and that's going to foretell maybe some strong storms towards the middle of the week. Now we take a look at rivers here. What stands out? Lots of green, which is normal stream flow, lots of red, which is below normal. A few spots higher stream flow, California, parts of the Pacific Northwest, and Florida, where we've had that heavy rain over the last week. Now, when we dig into the forecast here, what we see here is we're in a Pacific Ridge pattern. That's right here. It's a ridge of high pressure in the Pacific, then a dip in the jet stream, and another ridge here. As we get into March, it looks like more of a Pacific trough. And I think that's going to be the transition I'll be talking about, is an amplified flow where some areas are going to be mild and some areas not. Okay, so here's the current jet stream, and what we're going to have is we're going to have this ridge of high pressure early this week build, but by the middle of the week we're going to have a strong system pushing through, and this has some characteristics of spring. I think we're going to see dew points pulling up ahead of that. More moisture in the air than we've seen for a while, and then we're going to see a big temperature swing, and that's another sign of late winter, early spring. Is a big temperature change. And then as we get by next weekend, we switch into this pattern, a highly amplified pattern with a digging trough in the west, and that's going to be associated with colder than normal weather, and an unusually far north push of the jet stream in the east. That's going to be associated with unusually mild weather. So some areas right in here, Great Lakes, Northeast, are going to really be mild. Now I told you about the temperature changes. Well, here's Tuesday. Here's the front. You can see lots of different types of weather. Stronger storms in here, rain and snow in here. But look at temperature. St. Louis, Tuesday, 80 degrees. High temperature Wednesday, 41. But by the weekend, back into the 60s. Even more noticeable in Minneapolis. The high temperature in Minneapolis is only in the upper 30s. Minneapolis, 63 on Monday, 22 on Wednesday. So well above normal, well below normal. And then by next weekend, back into the 60s. Big temperature swings. When we look at precipitation this week, I think the area that's going to stand out is going to be the West Coast. Primarily a little bit north than last week. It's going to be Washington State, Oregon, and then higher elevations of California. Southern California, also some heavy rain, but not as widespread as the last couple weeks. It looks like this week it'll be up further to the north. Also some rain in the Ohio River Valley. Now I mentioned some snow this week. Well, there will be some snow in this region here. That's going to melt though quickly after it falls. But you can see we do have spots where we have moderate impacts due to snow, higher elevations of the west, and parts of the upper Midwest. So keep that in mind this week. Little sign of winter returning over those areas. But it's going to be short-lived because look at our 6 to 10 day and our 8 to 14 day here. These areas that get snow are going to warm right back up, and much of that is going to melt. And then we're going to be in that pattern where we have the colder air in the west and the milder air in the east. I hope that helps you with your weather decisions this week. You can always contact me, John at bluewateroutlook.com. Actually, I think that's weather at, wait a minute, I've changed it recently, john.bwoweather@gmail.com. When you have too many emails, it's easy to get confused. Have a great week. Take care.